All right. I I thought I would give an update on my inner world and thoughts and mental state and so on. Um I had a bit of a crash out with God, just prayer wise. And I basically said, look, I've done my absolute level best to try and fix the world and follow God's will and so on. Um, I've suffered a huge amount of negative feelings, terrifying visions of the future and what could actually happen, and so on. And I decided I'm done trying to fix the world. My playlist, Existential Crisis Guide and Toolkit, is my, at least currently, final work of trying to provide some sort of deep and meaningful value to the world and so on. Now, granted, it's a bit addicting, but yeah. I think I'm going to focus more on being a sovereign man and stop chasing even God's um, approval. It's now the signs or the algorithm from the spyware that sees what you say and then suggests things similar to it um, across platforms seems to have given a sign from God that God is okay with this and that that's what He wants. But I thought I would mention my personal stance in some sense. Now, this isn't a perfect synthesis, but I think I could actually navigate and be a liberal reactionary slash punk for Jesus or God. Um, I'm not sure which denomination I would actually pick to be part of, but I go to Bishop Robert Barron and Gavin Orland for succor or comfort and so on. And I go to the Calvinists and Eastern Orthodox for morality in a soft Christian and hard Christian way, basically. Um, um, I find Romanian TV, some of his Twitter posts, at least lately, have been very insightful. And he's got some truth to him on some level. Um, I admit my personal journey at the moment has been a rather moralistic and sort of conservative um, direction. Um, but I am I am not against a visceral and evocative, provocative rebellion against people acting like they're God. And what I said to Romanian TV on one of his Twitter posts is basically that he's reviving the 80s punk sort of heavy metal movie um, vibe in response to communism and satanic panic. basically. And I'm just going to sit on my liberal reactionary punk for Christ, of punk for Jesus aspect, and accept that while I might give the broken and the lost succor, which means some sort of like kindness that heals or comforts or something when you're broken, and I might tongue whip or tongue lash egotistical individuals who have a very wrong-headed or deliberately incitement of opposition kind of stance, and the dishonesty of the left at the moment primarily. I also have in me a certain rebelliousness, and as per the sovereign man kind of thing that I seem to have gotten signs from God to go in the direction of, the quest for perfection, in my case at least, is detrimental to my true spiritual development. I need to become whole, not just perfect. And wholeness is more of a woman's thing and focus, and perfection is more of a man's focus and thing. But you need a bit of both. Maybe the focus is what you need more of, but you need to also have a bit of the other thing. And you can never be entirely one or both of the things. So I'm just going to sit with it and become whole and withdraw my emotionality and become a sovereign man, which means a lack of reliance on the emotional support of other people, for every little thing I do, basically. And if I'm solid, then I can be solid for other people more so. And if I'm solid, then I'll be less reliant on other people as well. So it's a form of, it's a radical form of being a blessing to other people in a way, while also being an increase in mystique and danger to the opposite sex, possibly, so I can get a girlfriend, or maybe it'll help in my attempts to make a career making videos, and so on. And the first person I'm going to use this on, or develop this on, with, is God. Because God knows, and He really does, that I have tried to please God and do everything He's ever asked of me. And all of this, the wages of sin are death, and all this, you have to be perfect like your Father in heaven is perfect, and so on, but you can't be, but you have to try, and so on. It's just too much. I can't do it anymore. It's self-destructive. And I'm willing to bet it makes me less of a good person overall than I could otherwise be, and less influential as well. Emotionality and vulnerability beyond reason, and so on. Anyways, so those are the two dimensions I'm thinking of. Punk for Jesus, very punk, very for Jesus, and also liberal reactionary. So there's a moral, there's an ethical, there's a comfort and mercy and grace and undeserved favor element. There's a freedom element and a certain degree of irreverence in some ways, but also like punks for Jesus means you're actually for Jesus. So there's a certain degree of reverence for him and so on. And if I had to characterize the punk movement in a positive light, in a very positive light, I might go as far as to say Jesus was the first punk. Now I know that the punk aesthetic got misused and corporatized and so on, so I'm not saying that it's completely innocent, but punk existed as the pagan counterpart to Christianity that is relatively consistent throughout history of Christianity in the medieval world. Like we're talking about the Green Man and the gargoyles and the Celtic cross and the King Arthur mythology and so on of England, and its abbeys and monasteries and chapels and so on. But for modern times in some sense. And I know that that can seem kind of weird with gory violence and graphic nudity and so on. But this is just my personal stance. And it's something that I have to do to be true to myself, even if it's not necessarily true to someone else's ethos and so on. But I cannot do this faithful servant in every little thing, perfectionism thing anymore, and I have to express my darker shadow side of my psyche in some sense and integrate my shadow, as Carl Jung would put it. Because I've always been someone who's grown up on war movies and Conan the Barbarian and so on. And I'm just going to, as they say, rest on God's mercy and grace to fill the void between me and Him. And this will be for me, but other people can be different, and I don't mind that.